Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever it is that you are joining me from. Welcome to Money Live, episode 8. Money Live is an interesting conversation where we come together to just reflect on the realities of money and everything financial. Reality that sometimes is hard, reality that sometimes our ears are not prepared for, reality that we must reflect upon. Right, so it's another beautiful Saturday that we get to meet here and just do what we do best a day like this. Like I mentioned last time, we will be doing a few variations here and there depending on how my day looks like. But from all indications, it appears that this is going to be our new time, 8 o'clock in the morning, East African time. And I want just to thank you for finding time to be with me this particular day. Because without you, then this conversation is really not going anywhere. So take a moment to share this invitation with someone. If you're new here, as usual, kindly subscribe to this channel so that you are not left behind every time we go live. Make sure you hit the notification bell, and every time we upload a new video, you are also not left behind. Now, we've been through various series since the beginning of Money Live. We've talked about very many things. We've gone through a lot of things. We just started a new series, and that was the series of demystifying the trap of debt. And this is the series where we will talk about everything. And I promised I'll talk to you about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the world of debt. All right. So we will not be biased. We will go both ways. We will look at what it is that happens from the darker side of the world of debt and what it is that happens in the brighter side of the world of debt. So last Saturday, I started a conversation of opening your world, opening your eyes into the world of the conversation of debt. And we began by appreciating a few things. We appreciated that debt is here to stay, right? Just in case you thought that we had capacity to declare debt non-existent, null and void. The truth is that debt is here to stay. And we also talked about a few things, and we said that your enemy is not debt per se, but your enemy is the trap of debt. When you get trapped in debt, that is when the entire of your life begins to spin into directions that you may not have control over. Right, and we say that debt is like a loaded gun. The direction you point it determines how powerful or how finished you become. Right, if you point it in the right direction, then you are very powerful. But if you point it towards yourself, then you are very finished. Okay, and then we said the goodness and badness of debt depends on our conduct around debt, depends on our behavior around debt before we get to borrow, during the process of borrowing, and after the process of borrowing. Okay, and so largely we were agreeing that where debt will leave you will depend on the choices that you make around it. Right, many times I've met people who will be blaming lenders, many times I've met people who will be blaming others, but largely what they are doing is that they are denying that they are responsible for what has happened to them. Okay, and so we also looked at that, and we looked at the essence of debt, and I shared what I feel about debt and how it came into being from the onset. And then we asked ourselves, so where did the rain start beating us? And we reminded ourselves a few things about how or where the rain started beating us. And we mentioned, for example, that the rain started beating us when we started borrowing for consumption. Right, and I shared with you what borrowing for consumption means. Right, that video is here. Those of you that did not find chance to join me last Saturday, you can always find chance to go through all these videos. They will remain here on this channel. We also said that the rain started beating us the day we confused debt for income, the day we started going for borrowing sprees, the day we started just borrowing simply because we qualified or because there was a willing lender, right? And then we ended by reminding ourselves that ultimately things went wrong the day we got trapped in debt, right? And we say the trap of debt is a very dangerous thing. And I defined the trap of debt as a situation in which repayment of debt becomes either difficult or impossible, right? And I said that then that becomes your enemy, because if you do nothing about it, it degenerates into a very unfriendly cycle, a cycle where you find yourself earning money to pay debt, to borrow again, to pay more debt, to borrow again, and depending on how long your chain is, you will do that until at the end you borrow to survive. Or a situation where you find yourself borrowing from here to pay here, to borrow here, to pay here, to borrow here, again depending on how long your chain is, so that then you can borrow at the end of the day for you to be able to survive. Feel free to use the comment section to be able to share with me what you feel about this conversation, where it touches you most, or where it touches someone you know. Feel free to use the comment section. Feel free to also use the numbers that are scrolling on your screen, where you feel that the comment you have, you do not want it to go public on the comment section, and I'll be able to look at it. You can use WhatsApp. You can also use SMS on the number that is showing on your screen, and we will be able to communicate as we have always done. Like I mentioned last time, I know how these conversations of debt usually roll. Like you saw from last time, the comments started becoming fewer compared to what you have always had. But many times it's because we are going into a moment of reflection. Like I promised, I will try to be as real as possible, and in the course of trying to be as real as possible, I will pinch you not once, not twice, right? And then this is a disclaimer that I always give. When you feel pinched, please don't take it personal, take it as a wake-up call. Right, so today we are progressing that conversation. Okay, today we are progressing that conversation. We stopped at a point where we are saying the trap of debt is a very dangerous thing, and that's where I want to pick it from. When you get trapped in debt and you start struggling financially, every aspect of your life has chance to be affected. Every aspect of your life has chance to be affected. In another conversation that I also like having, what I call work-life choices, what you people call work-life balance, I like dividing life into 4 major parts, right? And the first part is your health. The next part is your relationships or your social life. The next part is your career life. And then the last part is your financial life. Now, when you're trapped in debt, all these areas of your life will be affected. All of them will be at stake. And that's why I like saying the trap of debt has the capacity to neutralize you, to reduce you into a shell of a human being. And that's not something you want to do. The reason why I'm doing this sensitization, the reason why I've chosen to start the conversation of debt from this perspective, is so that you can be warned from the beginning, right? And I want to paint a very disturbing picture of this monster that I'm calling the trap of debt, so that you can detest it, so that you can dislike it, you can hate it, because this is all you need to avoid, right? You don't need to avoid debt entirely, especially if you can master how to use it to your benefit. But what you must avoid at all costs is getting trapped in debt. And that's why I'm painting for you this picture, so that you can begin to see, if you're not there already, then you can begin to see what stands ahead of you if you remain reckless with your finances. And if you are there, then I'm trying to help you realize how you found yourself there, before then we get into the journey of how you begin to break from that particular cycle. And so today we are beginning to isolate the first part, and that's the part of your health. And that's why today's conversation is titled Trapped Health. And what I'm trying to tell you here is that when you get trapped financially, when you get trapped in debt, then your health will be trapped with that particular trap. So when you find yourself trapped in debt, just know that your health stands a chance to also be trapped. And that is why we are here today, to just reflect on how that can begin to happen. And like I mentioned, this is going to be a rather longer series. The series of the conversation of debt is going to be a longer series than even the series we had on the enemies of financial progress. The series on the enemies of financial progress had 4 episodes, and I was sharing 4 enemies per episode. Now, this particular series on demystifying the trap of debt and just sharing with you about the realities of the world of debt. It's going to be a rather longer series because we have to break down this into very manageable and understandable bits for all of us, and then it has got very many segments. You see, the reason why very many people avoid talking about this thing is because very many of us are affected by it. And that's why those of you that have attended trainings on financial wellness, many times, many trainers will either skip the conversation on debt, or they will skim through it. They'll skim through it very fast, right? And that begins to make people think that the conversation of debt is a very tiny thing, a very tiny aspect of the conversation of money management. The truth is that, and with a lot of humility, I've come up with content around the world of debt that we can talk about the entire year without repeating ourselves. So you can imagine how big that is, right? So through these live sessions, I may not be able to give you everything, right? But I will give you pointers in as many areas of it as possible. So today we are looking at how that begins to affect your health, and we will not even be able to look through all the aspects of your health. In the coming weeks, we will also go through other areas of your health. You know, health can be divided into various segments. We can talk about your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, name them, right? This is the state of your well-being, and it can have those segmentations. Okay, so feel free to use the comment section. Let me know whether you are getting me loud and clear and how you feel about this conversation. Excuse me, even as we get to dive into it. And today we will only isolate one aspect of the conversation of debt, and that will be the aspect of physical health, right? So today we'll be reflecting on your physical health, and then the days ahead we will look at your mental health. We will look at how your mind can be trapped. We will also look at how your emotions can be trapped when you start struggling financially, and all that, right? So I'm signaled that all the other communication channels are open. You can begin to converse. You can begin to let me know how you feel about this conversation. You can begin to inbox the number that is scrolling on your screen, so that then we can be able to progress together. I'm just beaming this other inbox so that I do not miss out on any of your communications as soon as you send them through. Right. So, like I've mentioned, your physical health is at risk when you start struggling financially. And physical health is about the physical you, the you that appears in the mirror. When you dash to your mirror now, the person that you will see is the person I'm speaking to today, the physical you. That container that contains your soul is a very important container. Actually, I call it the most important container in the world, because it contains the most important thing. And that most important thing is the soul, you, right? The person that we call you is contained in this container. And this container needs to be taken very good care of. Okay, this container needs to be guarded so jealous, because if something tampers with it, then your existence is at risk, right? And that's why it's important that then we dedicate some time to just reflect on it. The truth is this: when you're struggling financially, when you're trapped in debt, it becomes very difficult for you to concentrate or even to be able to take good care of your physical health. Now, when we talk about physical health, we're largely looking at two things. We're largely looking at diet, and we're also looking at fitness. Diet and fitness. These are very important things when it comes to your physical health, right? Diet and fitness. And I want us to spend the next few minutes just reflecting on these two, diet and fitness. And I will start by looking at diet. And when we talk about diet, we're just talking about how you eat. We're talking about what you eat. We're talking about when you eat. And most importantly, we are also talking about if you eat. When you're trapped in debt, like I have mentioned many times, the trap of debt is worse than brokenness. So someone who is trapped in debt is worse than a broke person. You see, brokenness takes you to the surface. You don't have money. Hauna pesa. But the trap of debt takes you to the negative. You don't have money, but people are pushing you for their money. Money that you don't have. Right? So when the two people meet, the broke person and the trapped person will always admire the broke person. Man, I wish I was just broke. I wish all these people, and the guy's looking at this other guy like this, because when you're in the negative, you're like in a hole, and this other guy is above you, right? He's on the surface. So the guy is just looking at this guy and saying, I wish I was just broke without all these people chasing me for their money. Okay. And so we don't take it for granted when you're able to put food on your table, when you're trapped financially, when you're trapped in debt, right? Because food costs money, right? And so if you're broke, you don't have the money. But if you're trapped in debt, then you are down there. So before you even say you don't have money, I don't know what we need to say, okay? Because it is something else on the other side of the divide, okay? And that makes the conversation a little bit more complicated when you find yourself in that particular position. You see, when you're trapped in debt, you may attend very many seminars on nutrition. You may read very many books on nutrition. And while you attend these seminars, you will write very interesting notes, right? You might write notes and notes and notes on how to live healthy, how to eat healthy, how to feed healthy, all right? But when you get home, reality dawns that it's not about the good notes that you wrote in the seminar. It's about what your pocket can afford. Right? So you may have written very beautiful notes, very interesting notes during the seminar, but the truth is that you will not buy food using the notes that you wrote in the seminar. You will buy food using the money that is in your pocket. And that's why once you get home and you look at your pocket, you realize that you can only eat what you can afford. Some of us, after those seminars, after reading those interesting pieces of content on healthy living, we even take a bold step of faith and we go to the supermarkets to just see, we go to the food stores to just see what items those are that were talked about by our nutritionists, nutritional speakers. And we get to the supermarket and I see you in the segment where food is sold in those supermarkets. I picture you, I see you in the shelves, just looking at those food items and looking at the prices. And that's the time I start seeing you talking to yourself, murmuring to yourself. Because when you look at the prices of those food items and you look at your pocket, you begin to realize that there is some incongruence, there is some disagreement between your pocket and the prices of those food items. Remember, the names of those food items are looking new to you. It's a discovery. It's like some rocket science to you. And so you've just gone and you're looking at these prices and you're looking at the state of your pocket and you begin talking to yourself. And that's the time you begin to remind yourself how you've lived on this planet for 4 decades, for 3 decades, 5 decades, without testing any of these items. Who tells these nutritionists that if you don't test these things, you will die? That if you don't eat these items, you will die? After all, you have not died and you've never tested any of them. That's the time I see you remembering your grandfather who had lived for 100 years without testing any of these foreign things that they are recommending for you. Who tells them that if you don't eat them, you will die? You know what is happening? What is happening is that it is not you speaking. Like I like saying, it is the trap of debt in you that is speaking. The truth is, if your pocket was capable, you would have gone to those shelves, You would have wanted to test those things that you have been told about. You would have wanted to see how they test, how they feel, and how they will affect your physical health, just like the trainers had told you. To yourself, because the state of your pocket is at an all-time low. The state of your pocket is at a different position, right? And that's just the danger of getting trapped, struggling financially. That's how it begins to affect your physical health, because when it's beginning to touch on your diet, on your ability to feed, on the quality of what you feed on, then a lot is at stake. Right, I can see Gilbert is saying that is very true. Irene, Irene, how are you? It's been ages. Irene is saying that she can get me loud and clear. Um, and she's saying that we can reduce the decibels of the accompanying sound. You can have that reduced a bit. All right, thank you very much, Irene. Let's see if the decibels can be reduced a bit, because the message is bigger than those decibels. Yes, I am told the volume has been reduced. All right, thank you so very much. Thank you very much. On this other end, I also see someone saying that today I'm also touching at the core of it. Another one is saying they are able to get me loud and clear. Another one is laughing that they have remembered their grandfather. Another one is saying that is so me. I think the description of what I see you doing at the supermarket, having written very beautiful notes from the nutritional seminars, and you go check the prices, and you go back home, right? And you tell yourself, I think I've been doing fine even without this, and I will continue just doing fine. Okay, so someone is agreeing that what I'm saying resonates with what is going on in their lives. Right. Feel free to continue letting me know how you feel about this conversation. And while at it, I've just remembered another interesting story. When I just mentioned that when you're trapped in debt, you know you can only eat what you can afford, what your pocket can afford. Okay, you can only eat what your hands can find, right? And I remember what we used to joke about when we were in college. For those of us that benefited from the Higher Education Loans Board loan, every time they would do the disbursements, we used to look like very rich people that time. The first couple of weeks, once the help loan has been disbursed, and I remember we used to joke and say that the first week of disbursement, because we have a lot of money, that money needed to be reduced to manageable levels. Okay, and so during that first week, we will be walking on the streets of Nairobi as though we owned them. Okay, and where food was concerned, for strange reasons, we have learned to associate chicken with good living, right? With good health, with good food. And well, from where I come from, chicken is a very serious thing. If you want to demonstrate to me how you have valued me, it will not matter how many goats you will slaughter for me. If I will not see a wing there, if I will not see a drumstick there, I will appreciate you have gone out of your way, but probably there is some little thing you have missed. Okay, so well, the world has taught us that chicken is a good connotation of good food, right? So because we wanted to be associated with chicken, we used to joke and say that the first week of disbursement, because we were opulent, because we had money that needed to be reduced to manageable levels, we afforded to eat chicken, right? So during that first week, we could eat chicken, right? We had powers, muscles, financial muscles to afford chicken. Okay, and things looked just very fine. Now, from the second week, money has come down to manageable levels, and we no longer could afford chicken. But because we still needed the relationship with chicken, we would say that from that moment, we at least afforded to eat chicken products. Okay, the relationship was still there. This time we are not eating chicken, but at least we can eat chicken products. Now, from the third week, the situation is now looking, let's just say, desperate, but well, not where it was the first week, second week, okay? But we still want a relationship with chicken. And so from the third week, we would start eating like chicken, like chicken. You guys know how the kienyeji chicken would be scratching the ground in search for food. And you will realize that that chicken will eat whatever it finds. So scratch the ground, whatever food item shows up, that's what the chicken will eat. When you're trapped in debt, when you start struggling financially, you start feeding like chicken. You start eating what your hand can find. Okay, you start feeding on what your hand can find. And that's a very dangerous position. Okay, because then that means that food that is easily available is food that will be cheap. Now, the quality of such food is not assured. And that's how you find yourself only affording food that has been called junk food. Okay, I know there is expensive junk, but there is also very cheap junk. Okay, that which is what your hand will find might also put your health at stake. And this has affected very many people. I was also reading another study that was done in Germany some time back, and the study was saying that people who are trapped in consumer debt, that means these are people who are perennially borrowing. Last Saturday I told you the dangers of borrowing for consumption. That when you borrow for consumption, you are saying two things. One is that you are not able to live within your means, and two is that you are eating your tomorrow today. And I've constantly asked you, what will you eat when tomorrow comes? Because usually that tomorrow does come. Okay, and so this study was saying that because when you start borrowing for consumption needs are recurrent. So that means you'll be borrowing day in, day out. So people who are trapped in consumer debt have a higher risk of becoming obese and struggling with overweight complications. So one would imagine and begin wondering, I thought you become obese by eating so much, right? Eating a lot of food. You become overweight because you eat a lot. Not necessarily. Sometimes it has to do with the quality of the food you're eating. Okay, so it doesn't mean that because we are talking about money here, and eating a lot means you have a lot of money to acquire a lot of food for you to eat. Okay, but sometimes you may not be eating a lot, but you're feeding on too much junk. Okay, so the little you are eating is not of good quality, and that means that is compromising your health status, and that's how you begin to realize that you are starting to gain weight, and your BMI is beginning to reach different values, and you become obese and things like those. Also, related to this is the fact that when people are struggling financially, some of them get stressed. And we will be talking about that when I will be showing you when the day we will be talking about emotionally trapped, how your emotions get trapped when you're trapped in debt. Okay, and we will look at how that begins to affect, and we will also tie it with what we will talk about next Saturday when we'll be talking about the trapped mind, and we begin to look at the effects of things like stress. We begin to look at depression. We begin to look at how that stress begins to affect some people. Some people, when they go through that particular stress, they become what has been called emotional feeders. They start feeding emotionally. Emotional feeding is when you are under stress and your stress sends you to food. So you use food as an escape route from what is stressing you. You see, the same way someone who is stressed thinks that going into alcoholism will help them forget about what is troubling them. There are people who also find themselves going into too much eating, and so they'll be wanting to eat so often. They want to eat, because that is their stress relief mechanism. Okay, so they vent out through eating. That's a very dangerous mode of stress relief. Okay, so we will be saying a few things about that in the days to come. However, now when you become an emotional feeder because of stress, that means you'll be eating too much, and that comes back to confirm the same, that your weight is highly likely to go up, and you're highly likely to become obese, especially if you do nothing about the root cause. So if your struggles are of a financial nature and you're not doing anything to solve that particular puzzle, that means that then your challenges are compounding every other day, and that becomes a very serious problem. Right, I can see a couple of messages here. Someone is saying that I'm already looking at my weight and asking myself whether the relationship you're talking about is what is affecting me. Wow. All right, I hear you. That self-examination is also a very powerful thing. That personal awareness is a very powerful thing, very good thing for you to do, right? So this one is saying that they're already looking at their health situation and their weight story to just see whether there could be a relationship between their current weight situation, I don't know how it looks like, and their financial situation. Maybe you need to also just do the same and see whether the relationship I'm trying to strike here is making sense, right? Someone here is also saying that thank you very much for this conversation. You don't know what you're doing to us, but the truth is that you're opening our eyes one thing at a time. Well, thank you very much for the positive comments. Thank you very much. That affirms that what we are doing through this conversation is something that is valid and is something that is useful. Right. A big welcome to those of you that have just joined us. If you are new here, as usual, take a moment to just subscribe to this channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you are not left behind every time we go live, every time we upload a video. Take your time after this to just be able to familiarize yourself with other videos that are on this channel, so that you can be able to sensitize yourself on a thing or the other. Feel free to also suggest other areas that you may want us to address during these Money Live conversations that will be coming your way at a time like this every Saturday morning, every Saturday afternoon. I don't know what time it will be for you, wherever it is that you're joining me from. Every Saturday night, if that will be night for you. Feel free to suggest areas that you'd want me to focus on. So currently we are in a season where we are reflecting on the subject of debt, and I'm just trying to open your eyes to the world of debt and getting to share with you the good, the bad, and the ugly of the world of debt. Right. So currently we are opening our understanding to what the trap of debt is, how it comes about, and the effects of the same. So we are now looking at the effects of the same, the effects of the trap of debt, and we are looking at how it affects your health, how it traps your health. Specifically today, we're looking at your physical health. How does your financial struggles, how does you getting trapped in debt affect your physical health? Right, and I've mentioned that physical health has two very main major components, and that is diet and fitness. Diet and fitness. Okay, diet and fitness. And I've just been sharing about diet and how your financial struggles affect your ability to attend to your diet, to attend to the quality of your diet, because you don't have money. You don't have money to watch your health. You don't have money to really concentrate on what you're eating. But again, before I finish, it is also important for me to remind you that good health is as a result of deliberate effort more than it is as a result of money. So we have to dispel the possibility of you beginning to look for a quick excuse and say, my health is the way it is because I don't have money. Remember, money is a relative concept. When we were talking about realities of money, and I was reminding you that there is no small money, and that still works even for health, that there is plenty you can do with the money that you have to ensure that you are feeding on quality. Probably you only need to change where you shop from. Probably you just need to change the things that you're feeding on. You just need to look at your lifestyle and be able to alter it. Okay, so don't just sit pretty and say that because I have not attained this level of financial wellness, that explains why my health looks like this. That explains why I'm struggling with this condition. That explains why I'm going through these health struggles. No, we have to dispel any likelihood of us beginning to give excuses. We have to remind ourselves that we can still do plenty with what is at our disposal. We just need to be more deliberate. We just need to take time, look at food prices, look at that which you consider to be healthy food, read about options. Because the good thing about health is that there will always be options. They will tell you that if you're looking for proteins, you can get proteins through this food, this food, this food. Look at those lists and see which of them is within your reach. Okay, so don't just say, because we are saying there is a sharp connection between your financial status and your health and your physical health status, and so because you've not attained a certain level of financial health or financial wellness, and therefore you're going to sit pretty and say that you are not going to do anything because you don't have money. As long as you have some money with you, that which you think is little money, please just be sure that you can be able to do a lot. You can be able to do a lot with that which you have. Okay, you can be able to do a lot with that which you have. All right. That was just a quick recap for those of us that just have joined us right now. So I'm now moving into the fitness bit. The fitness bit. Okay. There is no doubt that we need to keep fit. Our body was created to be an active body. Okay. Our body was created to be a body that is active, to be a body that that is in motion, to be a body that is moving, to be a body that that is doing work, a body that is flexing. Okay, and unfortunately, the sedentary lifestyles that we have found ourselves in has come to affect the status of our physical health. Okay, very many of us, because of the nature of our jobs, we have found perfect excuses for not keeping fit, for not being fit. Very many of us, we will do 2 staircases and we are panting like we've been running the whole day, right? Like we've just done a marathon. Okay, very many of us cannot actually use the stairs. Very many of us will be looking for the lifts. Very many of us will be looking for the shortest routes out. Very many of us will leave our houses, get into the car, get to the office, sit down the whole day. We are not doing anything to improve our motion, our physical motion. We will leave the office, into our car, back to the house. We are tired. We sit down. We are dozing. We sleep. We wake up. And that has been our routine for years. And that is a dangerous position to find yourself in. What is your fitness position looking like? Of course, you're wondering how fitness is beginning to get associated with your financial situation. All right. There's also a sharp connection between your financial situation and your level of fitness. Okay. So, given that that is how your lifestyle looks like, that does not mean that you have nothing you can do about your fitness. There's plenty you can do. But let me first of all show you how the trap of debt begins to affect your ability to keep fit. When you're trapped in debt, for those of you that will be dreaming of joining fitness centers, getting into the gym, and things like those ones, you realize that it is no longer possible for you to renew your gym subscription when you're trapped in debt. Okay, because it costs money. We said you're worse than a broke person. The other time I said, when I say you and it's not you, just plug your neighbor and bring them to this conversation. Okay, I said throughout this conversation, especially of debt, I will be using the pointer you, right? So if my statement does not refer to you personally, just bring your neighbor into this conversation, and let's move on. You know, you guys can be very good in these matters. Okay, and so your gym subscription will be at risk when you are trapped in debt. So it is no longer news that I will see you making New Year resolutions, but come January, you haven't hit the gym because you don't have the subscription. You don't have the money to pay. Even if they were asking you for 1,000 shillings, it's not money that you have. Or even if you have, it's money that has very many other needs competing for it. And therefore, it's not money you can just easily throw away to the gym guy just like that. Okay, of course you're looking at me and wondering, but coach, we can even jog for free. And I agree with you, and I will actually recommend that in case you're going through financial problems, let that not be an excuse for you not keeping fit. There are very many avenues, very many options that you can actually deploy to make sure that you are keeping fit. That will be of low cost or zero cost. Okay, so very many of us will be giving excuses. You know, I'm not fit because I cannot afford to renew my gym subscription. I cannot afford this. I cannot afford this. But we need to stop this life of excuses, right? And we need to realize that there is plenty we can do. Part of what we can do is that we can even work out at home. Many of you have got gadgets that have access to internet. We live in the information era. I see on the internet plenty of videos of guys who are teaching guys how to keep fit from the house, from the home, right? You can simply just stream one of those videos and begin to work out from the comfort of your home if you think you don't have time or you don't have money to go to the gym. Some of you live in places where you have environments where you can take walks, environments where you can jog in the morning or in the evening. Please take advantage of that and do it. Some of you have don't work over the weekend. On Saturday, you can hit the road, get into some forest somewhere, go to Arboretum, jog, run up and down, keep your body fit. Before you give excuses, ask yourself whether you've done the best that you can do with the resources that are currently at your disposal. Right, but let me show you how the drop of debt will affect you. I've told you it will affect your gym subscription. And of course, you've counted that in your mind and you've told me, coach, we can always be jogging on the highways. And my imagination has gone a notch higher. I have imagined you jogging on the highway. And many times I smile when I see you people jog on the highways. And apart from the fumes on the highways, that's a different conversation. You can jog early in the morning when the vehicles are not very many, and that will have minimal fume effect on you. That's fine. But my imagination is when I see you with those earphones plugged in and you're listening to that beautiful music as you jog. I have never stopped imagining that you're trapped in debt, you're jogging, you have your beautiful music plugged in your ears, and you're jogging and you're fine. And then suddenly, a call pierces through that music. You know, according to the settings of your phone, a call is powerful, is more powerful than music. So when someone calls you, the call must disrupt your music. All right, and so you're jogging and a call pierces through the music. That means you're disrupted. You have to check who is calling you, and so you check out your phone and you look at it and you discover that it is that person you promised to pay money yesterday and you didn't pay. It is that landlord you promised money and you haven't given them the money, or is that other person chasing you for their money. You people know how it feels when people are chasing you for their money. You know how uncomfortable it becomes, right? When people are calling you for their money. You know that feeling, right? So you can imagine you're jogging and you look at the phone and you can see who is calling you. Before you know it, the psyche for jogging comes down, the energy for jogging comes down, and before long you change direction and speed and you walk towards home because your mood has been tattered, because your concentration on the jogging has been affected. You and I know how difficult it is to marshal energy to start all over again. Right? I know you've tried those regimes, and I know the energy it takes for you to start. So you can imagine if that energy is killed, you know how long it takes for you to marshal new energy to start all over again. What do you think? Let me hear what you're saying on the comments. There are two messages here. Someone is saying that on this jogging, you are describing me. Many times I have been affected. I have discontinued my regimes, and I think I agree with you. Money has a big role in it. Wow. Thank you for that confession. You know, some of these conversations begin with our confessions, with our coming to terms with the reality that surrounds us. Okay. There's another message here. Thank you, Coach, for these conversations. Thank you for bringing them early in the morning. What a way to start my weekend. Wow. Thank you very much for your comment. Right, someone else is still typing. We will look at what they are saying. So in the meantime, on this other wall, right. Thank you, Titus, for joining. I can see you're confirming that you are in, and that's a beautiful thing to have you and all of you live at this particular time. All right, so in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, that is how when you get trapped in debt, when you start struggling financially, that is how your health, your physical health, begins to get affected. Okay, because a body that is not fit and the same body is not feeding well is a very endangered body. It's a very endangered body. It's a very sad state that in this country and in the world at large, research continues to establish that majority of the diseases, majority of the conditions that are affecting people that are admitted in hospitals today, majority of those cases, at some point it was estimated that over 80% of those cases are actually as a result of non-communicable diseases. So that means it's as a result of diseases that are not your ordinary diseases. Okay, your pathogen caused diseases are as a result of what you have called lifestyle diseases, lifestyle conditions that come because your body has relaxed because of your sedentary lifestyle, conditions that set in because of the state of your feeding. You know, when you eat, you are either feeding disease or fighting disease. So whatever it is that you are putting into your system, whatever it is that you are ingesting, you are either fighting disease, fighting it not to come in, not to take hold captive of your body, or fighting that which is already in to get out. Or you are either feeding it, supporting it. So what are you feeding it on? What are you ingesting? What are you putting in your mouth? What are you putting in that precious container that is your body, is your physical body? Are you feeding disease, or are you fighting disease? And I've shown you the relationship between how your financial story begins to affect that particular bit of your life. It's a sad story. It's sad because there is a lot we can do to avoid some of these lifestyle conditions. We just need to be more deliberate. We just need to be ready to roll our sleeves. We just need to be ready to do more. We just need to stop giving excuses. We just need to realize that the money that we have in our hands can do more than it's doing today, or can do better than it is doing today. We just need to realize that we need to come to terms with the reality that is facing us. If our feeding lifestyle is wanting, let's come to terms with that reality so that we can be able to face it, so that we can be able to do something about it. Right? Let's stop hiding into these things of saying, our weight runs in the family. And I like what someone says, that it is not that your weight runs in the family. It is that no one is running in your family. Okay, so don't tell us those things of my mom was like this, my dad was like this. If anything, you're beginning to already complicate this thing. You are beginning to contradict yourself. Your mom and dad came from two different genealogical backgrounds. So if you're saying this thing runs in your family, and when you check your TBT photos for your dad and mom, they don't look like what you're justifying today. So when did they naturally acquire these genes you're saying are running in your family? Right? I hope I've not asked a very difficult question, but I gave a disclaimer that I'll be pinching you not once, not twice. Okay? So it's high time we stop giving these excuses. It's high time we faced this reality. It costs very cheap to do the right thing, because when those diseases set in, my goodness, your situation gets complicated more than it is today. So my call is for us to be more deliberate. My call is for us to be ready to do more with what is readily available. Even as we fight to break free from the chains of debt, even as we fight to improve our financial situation, it is high time that we needed to increase the speed of fighting the menace of the chains of debt that are surrounding us. It is high time that we started doing something. Let me show you how complicated it will be. You see, today, because of your financial struggles, you may not be able to feed properly, especially if you are not deliberate about it. And I've explained how deliberate that means, or rather, how being deliberate means. So if you're not be able to feed well, you are not able to keep fit. That means your physical health is endangered. If any of those conditions set in, their treatment is very expensive. Very expensive. Very expensive. And I like it that my brother Maina Azimio is also on this session, and he's also a very powerful crusader of wellness. Okay, and I saw him write a very touching story the other day about the realities of kidney issues. And we were just trying to look at the financial implications of procedures like dialysis, and the reality, and we're just looking at the cost of dialysis, and those figures are ranging from 7, 8, 9,000, 10 and upwards per session. So you can imagine if you are in that situation, and a session costs 9,000 shillings, 10,000 shillings, and you are supposed to have 3 sessions per week, that is 30,000 shillings per week, money that you don't have because you're still struggling financially. That becomes pressure on you, that becomes pressure on your family. And I'm sure you people have been in families where one or probably a number of your family members have been going through these conditions, and you know how costly it is. All right, or you have friends who've been going through this, and you know how that begins to become a bigger threat even to the financial stability of that family. So even the little hope that was remaining for financial stability gets jeopardized, gets threatened, and that complicates that story even more. Are we saying there's no hope? There is plenty of hope. There is plenty of hope from where you are, that you can begin to do something from where you are with what you have. The thing you need is deliberate efforts. Deliberate efforts to change your lifestyle. Deliberate effort to work on your finances, to work on your financial story. All right, come to terms with where you are. Be uncomfortable with your current financial position, especially if you are struggling with the trap of debt. Seek for help. Okay, find ways to break free. Seek for help. By the grace of God, with a lot of humility, since I started the debt clinic, I have sat with hundreds of people. And I thank God when I look at the results, and I thank God for the power of conversation. Some of these cases we just heal because we found time to sit down and have a conversation. In the course of the conversation, someone sees their light bulb moment. Someone discovers something they have always overlooked, and that sorts their issues out. Speak out. Find coaches to speak to. They know something that probably you do not. Find someone who can be able to journey with you. But do whatever you will to ensure that you better your financial position. If you are not yet struggling financially, always remember to plan and manage your finances properly so that you don't slide into that menace. That's a prison you don't want to find yourself in. It's a prison that I speak about with a lot of authority because it's a prison I have lived in for years, and I wouldn't want you to go through the struggles I went through. It's a prison whose corners I understand so very well. It's a prison you wouldn't even wish your worst enemy, for those of you who have enemies, to go through. So if you're not yet there, take caution. Plan your money well, manage your money properly. And in the days to come, we will be talking about ways of doing this so that you keep getting enlightened, right? So that you're also not left behind. And then lastly, you have to remember to grow your money. It's not just about managing. Okay, every time I have chance to speak to you about stewardship, I have to remind you that as a steward of resources that God has put in your hands, there are three things that you must do. Number one is to acquire resources. So you have to work to do something to acquire resources. Number two is to manage those resources. Why are you managing? So that they can be able to sustain you and so that you can be able to contain yourself within them and be able to continue managing them for the future. And thirdly, you have to multiply them. A good steward does not just manage. A good steward also remembers to multiply that which God has placed in our hands. Remember, you don't own it, right? You only hold it in trust. God has just given you these resources so that you can hold them in trust. So as a trustee, you are allowed to find ways of acquiring that which you can manage as a trustee. Then as a trustee, you are allowed to use the resources to sustain you, but then you must also multiply those resources so that they become better than they were when they stepped in your hands. Very important. So ladies and gentlemen, as I look at my time, I begin to see that my prompt is blinking, that our time is coming towards an end. I want to thank you so much for finding time to be with me this particular day for this particular conversation. Once again, if you're new here, find time to subscribe to this channel. This is what we do here. We talk about money, we talk about your life, we talk about everything life in a manner that is real, in a manner that is in agreement with the reality on the ground. And that reality sometimes is not reality that many ears would want to hear, but it's reality that many ears must hear if progress is to be achieved. Let me just see a couple of messages here just before we close. Someone here is saying, Coach, thank you very much for this powerful session. Right, so thank you so much for this comment. Another one is saying, Coach, you have touched me since you started these live sessions. I have followed all of them. May God bless you. Thank you so much. Another one is saying, Coach, I'm going to be more deliberate. I'm going to use the resources at hand. I've been saying I am busy, and that is why my health has been the way it is looking. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It feels good to see that what we are doing is having impact in your life, and you're beginning to reflect on the same. Next week, God willing, same time, same place, we'll be looking at the trapped mind. The trapped mind, how your financial struggles begin to affect your mental wellness, right? And that's a powerful conversation that you don't want to miss. Feel free to share this video with your friends so that they can also be part of this conversation. Feel free to invite your friends to also subscribe to this channel. Feel free, when the communication about the next live session is coming up, feel free to share it with your community so that we can continue learning together, so that we can continue to be able to take caution together, and so that we can continue to be transforming each other, one soul at a time. As I always say, you can do better. Thank you so much. May God bless you. May God keep you safe. Until we meet again next week, same place, same time. May God shower you with abundant blessings. May God keep you in good health. May God give you grace as you go through, as you battle your challenges of life. May you find ways out. May you find solutions to whatever it is that may be causing you struggles in life, so that then you can begin to prosper in whichever area of life that you're looking at. So thank you so much for finding time to be with me. And until we meet again, it is bye-bye.